Action. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Macro Podcast, where we talk about all things real estate and sometimes things macroeconomics and the big picture. Joining me today is a little bit different asset class operator, very interesting guy, Don. Welcome to today's call. This is Don Spafford.
Thanks, Douglas. Good to be here.
Don, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate?
Yeah, so um, it goes back a ways, I guess. So my background is actually in just finance, like we'll say stock investing. So
Mhm.
I started investing in stocks actually after the 2008 crash, like near the
Oh
end of
yeah.
2008 and early 2009. So I started buying stocks. I'd been following stock investing since I was 14 years old, though. So I've always had interest in investing and things. So um, it got to the point I actually finished my degree related to stock investing and it's actually in the spring of 2008. So kind of good or bad timing, depending how you look at it, I guess. And so, I started investing in the stocks at the end of that year. At that same point, when all the housing prices were coming down, I saw that as a huge opportunity, but I did not know anything about how to get involved. I didn't know
Right.
how to invest in real estate, or I probably didn't even have the resources to invest in real estate, especially at that point. Banks weren't really lending anyway. So it would have been difficult for me to get in. But I saw that the opportunity was there and I wanted to, but again, I didn't know how. So several years later, as our youngest child was getting into the school, my wife had always been a stay-at-home mom. And so she was ready to go work somewhere or do something. Um, but we, of course, had in mind that our children come first, so we wanted to be something that could be flexible. So if the kids are sick, or even during summer, like we don't want our kids going to daycare.
Right.
There's no point in her working just paying for daycare, So
Oh man,
um,
ridiculous.
yeah, so somehow the idea came to my mind at the time of real estate. So I offered her, as like, well, what do you think about being a realtor?
Mm.
And it's something that she'd never considered, neither had I really, but she looked into it and thought about it, and she actually liked the idea because she likes talking with people and
Mm.
helping people. And um, the more she looked into it, she liked it and decided to get her real estate license. So she got her license in, I think, 2010 or 11, somewhere there.
Mhm.
Um, at the time, we lived in Omaha, Nebraska,
Mhm.
and so from almost like right from the start, her first clients were investors.
Oh yeah.
Some of them were friends of ours, and at the time I didn't understand. I guess I didn't know much about, again, real estate anyway.
Mhm.
But one of them in particular was essentially doing the Burr strategy, where he was
Ooh.
buying properties and fix them up, and then refinancing them. He was buying them in cash because he was a lawyer, so he was leveraging his business. He'd pull out the line of credit on his business, buy properties in cash, and fix them up and refinance later. He kind of explained this to me at the
Mhm.
time, and I just thought it was incredible because I never knew you could do that.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, now years later, I fully understand that. But yeah, so that was really got me more motivated. It's like I got to figure out how to do this. And so
Mhm.
um, I started reading some books. The very first real estate related book I read was The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller.
Oh, very nice.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so that was my first, I guess, training education on the process, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and so about the time when we were ready to try to start investing in some way, somehow or another, because there was great opportunities still. Even in 2012, there were still lots of foreclosures and these really cheap properties in that area. Um, but around then, we also made the decision that we needed to move from Omaha to Idaho to
Mm.
help care for my mother. And so I kind of decided to put all that on hold because I was not ready to have a long distance property yet.
Yeah.
Not having any properties at all. I was like, that'd be too, I guess, risky. I thought so. So we waited. We moved to Idaho in 2015. Took about a year or so to get settled in, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to get back and figure this out. And so I just happened to one day catch a commercial for one of those, we'll say guru seminars coming through town, and
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds interesting. Let's go to that. So we went to that, um, and I thought it was very interesting. I was wanting to say, sure, I'll pay for your coaching program, but I was
Right.
like, they wanted like $50,000. I'm like,
Oh
well, I
yeah.
don't have that.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's not gonna happen. But the great thing that did come of that is I met a guy there who introduced me to Bigger Pockets,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I had at that up to that point had never heard of. I was
Yeah.
was not doing much research, I guess, online, but to found him. But so I was like, what's this Bigger Pockets thing? So I went and checked it out, and registered there, and pretty much like fell in love like right away. Started listening to their podcasts and everything every day, and started using the
And the
calculators.
great thing about bigger pockets, it saved probably millions of dollars in coaching fee, because you literally could go on bigger
Yeah,
pockets and find any answer you needed for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I tell people to this day, I'm like, yeah, my probably best and first mentor was such a bigger pockets and all
Yeah.
the podcast guests that were coming on and telling me everything. So,
That's right.
um, so yeah, so it was all there, for free. But I did pay for the pro membership because I wanted those access to the calculators and the past podcasts and everything. So,
Sure.
I saw, just for me playing with those calculators, I saw the huge value that was there in being able to analyze properties easier or better, I guess, for at least for me starting out,
Hmm.
not having anything else to use. So, so yeah, I got on there, was active, and that kind of really became like my main and only social media source was Bigger Pockets for
Hmm.
several years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from that I started reading more books and everything, and so I quickly realized that multifamily was better than single family.
Mm.
And it always was, I guess, in my mind anyway, because I saw it as more of the risk factor. I'm like, okay, if I've
Right.
got a single family house, if somebody moves out, then that means nobody's paying that mortgage but me. So I've got to cover it.
Right.
And if there's something needs to be repaired or replaced, that's a big expense that could probably wipe out a full years of cash flow. So
Hmm.
so I decided instead I'm going to go for a fourplex, being the biggest multifamily property I could get under with a residential loan.
Right.
And so I started looking for that, and so we luckily, good timing, I guess, in 2017. Yeah, we bought a fourplex that I actually found on Craigslist,
Oh, nice.
as a for sale by owner. It was a great property, and at the time it met the 1% rule,
Mm.
uh, with the rents as it were, which I knew the rents could go up. So anyway, so we bought this property. I used a 10% down payment with the local lender, so not
Hmm.
25% like most people say you have to have.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I would not have been able to do it probably. And I leveraged my 401k to borrow most of that down payment from myself, basically.
And
And
and just for the record, if you're willing to own or occupy, you can go 3% with FHA if you
right,
can find a deal. And you go owner occupied. Okay, just I love that program so much. I think it's so neat. I haven't done it myself, but I'm like, man, that is so cool. You can get a 3% down investor loan. Like, what planet does? How cool is that? Thanks a lot, FHA.
yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly, and possibly even 0% if you got a VA loan, maybe. But
right.
so yeah, and I often tell people that are just starting out, is like, if you have the possibility to do so, if your family, I guess is able to do it, do a house hack. Yeah, buy a fourplex, live in one of the units, lease for a year, and then move out to buy no one. I don't know. Keep
Right.
doing that as often as you can with the house hacking. But for me at that time, we had 4 kids, and we would not have enough
Wouldn't have
space to live in
worked.
a fourplex. Yeah, my
No
wife
way.
would
There's no
not have
way.
been down for that. So um, so anyway, but yeah, if I could go back starting over when we bought our first property, then definitely I would have always did a house hack for sure, no matter what.
Mhm.
So I always suggest that to people that are just starting out to do that as soon as they possibly can, if they can.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the first property, and that was what got the momentum going. So took about a year and a half later before I bought anything else, and then bought a couple more fourplexes, this time out of state. Um, and kind of from there, just things really started to snowball. I spent a lot of time networking as much as I possibly could, which is again mostly through Bigger Pockets. I was not on any other social media really. Um, Getting connected with wholesalers and
Mhm.
brokers of just areas just to send me anything they got. I said, yeah, send me anything multifamily. I was still mostly looking for fourplexes, but I was willing to go something bigger if I could find something reasonable, like say 10 or 16 unit or something,
Mhm.
that I could maybe try to work out. And so just making those connections really what got things going. And then um, then I guess somehow conveniently got pulled into commercial real estate through my broker for those other two fourplexes that were in Arkansas. She called me up one day and said there was this opportunity to buy some really cheap commercial land that would be worth a lot more in the very near future
Mm.
because of what's happening in the area, a lot of development and things
Mhm.
going on. So this land could be bought off market at a you know I was trusting a lot in their word as far as
Mhm.
what the actual value is, but I got in contact with some other people there in the area. In fact, something that was on one of those Bigger Pockets podcasts as a
Oh,
guest, and
nice.
I'd
Yeah.
connected with him, and he's from that area around Little Rock, and so I asked him, hey, what do you know about this area? What's happening there? And then he's like, yeah, this is a huge opportunity. I'm like, awesome. So I got the lot under contract and actually reached out to him to help, get it funded because he had the contacts from his investor pool. And
Right.
so I was able to get into that deal with $0 out of my pocket. I
Yeah,
just got
right.
it under contract and then, found the right partner to help with the rest. Um, and then that led me to some other development projects later on. Got involved with a huge syndication of a build to rent multifamily project. And then, eventually I got with Happy Camper Capital. That's kind of what I'm doing these days. And, it was kind of a strange, I guess path, not like quite linear path, I guess most people go, and was definitely, unfortunately, I hate to say that it was not intentional. I did not intend to get to do those things, but it just, the opportunities came up, and I seized those opportunities because I was like, this is, something I can't pass up. I got to do what I can to get involved, and luckily it's worked out.
And you even along the way here, you even got involved in doing a multi-tenant retail development.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, that's in process now. It's yeah, a 5-unit commercial triple net lease, multi-tenant property. Yeah.
And so have you broken ground on that one yet?
Yes. Yep. Grounds are broke. Walls are basically up. Um, so yeah, it's in process. We should be in the, depending on what happens with the supply chain issues,
Hmm.
we could have it completed by January. Could go out a bit longer depending on if we have to wait for some windows or something, but
Hmm.
um, yeah.
And Don, did you pre-lease that before you proceeded with the project totally, or how did that work?
So since neither myself nor my partners in that one have any experience with commercial triple
Yeah.
net leases, the banks were not willing to give us a loan without at least about 3 of the 5 units having an LOI.
Right.
So we got some LOIs up front for some potential tenants, and that was enough at least to get the bank loan to get that moving. And so now that we finally have broken ground and are in process, we've now actually hired a commercial broker in the area to help us find tenants
For the other
for that
two.
space. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I'm just I love the retail space, and just hearing your story on that. It was really neat. I just wanted to share that because a lot of the folks we network with are in a lot of multifamily and a lot of self storage folks and other classes, but multi tenant kind of still seems to kind of fly under the radar a little bit. So it's kind of interesting to hear your experience with that.
Yeah. Again, it was just for me, the opportunity seemed right. So
Right.
the lot, actually, I asked that same broker that brought me that bigger lot they were flipping. I asked them, hey, is there any more lots available? And there was this
Mm,
smaller one down the road. And so I looked at it, and for the location where it's at, there's a huge like luxury single family development going up right behind it.
oh, nice.
There's a large high school. It just got completed recently, just down the
Hmm.
road from it. Another huge assisted living center down the road. And so I was like, looking at this, is like, okay, we could possibly build some like high end townhomes, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but the broker told me, he's like, well, there is a huge demand for businesses that want to come to this area and
Hmm.
put something here. So if you could put something commercial there, that would be great. So I looked into it. I ran some analysis numbers and kind of compared doing these high end luxury townhomes or doing this commercial space. And surprisingly, I was, I guess, surprised that the commercial space actually worked out better. Like the numbers were nicer, and obviously we wouldn't have to worry so much about the tenants and issues with everything goes on with that. And so I was like, okay, let's give us a try. What, that's kind of been my philosophy in many things. Like, give it a try. What's worse that can happen, right? So,
Right.
as long as we have the risk at least under control to some degree, but we knew that no matter what, this lot, just like the other one, we'd got it undervalued. So I was like, if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, we can't get the loan, we can always just resell the land for more than we bought for anyway. So it
Absolutely.
was, I saw it as very low risk, and even by the time it would get completed, we could probably still sell the property if we had to or wanted to right off the hand. In fact, we already had somebody that has offered to buy it. Even before we broke ground, somebody else that knew we were building something there is like, he offered to buy it when we get it done, which we don't plan to, but it's like, that's good to know. At least there's
It's a good
demand.
sign,
People want
right?
something
That
there.
people are
Yeah,
like, yeah, hey, okay, we're doing something right here. If
yeah,
somebody else
and
wants to buy
exactly,
it.
and even before we even had official design plans ready, just from the word of mouth from the city, I guess the city planning or whatever, a big name national chain, we'll say, financial provider, contacted us directly and said, "Hey, I heard you're building something there. We would like to get a space." So
It's
I
like,
was like,
oh,
"Wow, that's pretty nice." That
cool.
this big name company is already reaching out to us before we even have any design plans. So I was like, "Well, I can't tell you
That's
anything about it because I don't know what size it's going to be
yeah.
or anything." But
They're
that
like,
was pretty.
we
That
just
was
went in
definitely
there. We
reassuring to
don't
know
care.
that there is at least demand coming there. Yeah.
That's
So
right. That's awesome. Um, and how now switching gears a little bit down to your main line of work here these days. How did you get involved in the campground space?
So going back, say early 2021, really, um, I was, I guess, had the goal or the mindset. I wanted to get involved in bigger deals, right? I was
Hmm.
trying to get in these bigger, really multifamily syndications. I'd been learning about syndications for a few years, had made a few contacts with some syndicators that, again, mostly through bigger pockets, and so I was trying to do more of that. I wanted to get involved with multifamily at a bigger scale. So by this point, I just, barely started getting active on LinkedIn, which now, people that know me now from LinkedIn probably, because I'm very active on there now. But back then, I was non-existent. Did not ever post anything. Was not really contacting anybody. Not doing anything there. And so I was trying to do more now at this point, getting more connections and focusing on getting involved in more multifamily.
Mm.
And so I was trying to find properties. I was, again, going back to my those connections I had made previously with brokers and everybody to find properties, and try and do what I could myself to research and find properties off market, that I could take to a group to syndicate. So I had enough contacts that, okay, if I found a great property, I could take it to this person or that person or this person, and say, hey, I got this great deal under contract. Let's work on it and get it syndicated together. Um, and I also had several people that had capital that were willing to deploy with me if I could find the great properties, like just a smaller JV deal, like I say a 20 or 30 unit. So I was looking for both those types of properties, and everything I was analyzing according to my personal criteria of returns were not working out. Nothing that made me feel comfortable enough that I would ask somebody else to invest in, to not maybe not work out as well as I thought it would or something. So I was getting, I guess, disappointed and burnt out trying to find these properties I just could not find.
And so this was
And
2017, 2018 now,
20, no, 20, this is 2021. So
into
about,
21. Okay.
yeah, a year and a half ago from right now.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, let me at least look at other people's deals, and I'll invest as an LP investor. Maybe they've got better processes. They've been doing this longer. They can find better deals. I don't know. And so I was looking at other people's syndications, and of course, no offense here intended for any other syndicators out there, but
I'm gonna stop you right there, Don. I'm gonna take this for the team here. There's a strong possibility that nothing you found was remotely reasonable.
yes, that's correct. Exactly. Nothing, at least nothing that I personally liked. Nothing that got me excited to say I'm going to put my money in that. Yeah, I would say I was probably more excited around that time to put my money into Tesla. Had recently
That's
dropped
right.
from the market drop that took place because of the pandemic. So,
Right.
yeah, so I was like, yeah, there's not much upside potential I could see for the risk involved, for the time period involved and everything. So so I was just patiently waiting, looking for something better. And as you mentioned, I've talked to several people that have had the same feelings as I did. They
Mm.
were looking for something better also, but they, like me, did not know where else to find it. All they see is what everybody else is putting out there, and it's like, well, that's all there is. So I'll just put my money in that for now to not miss out. And so, but I was not willing to do that. I had the mindset of this, opportunity cost. I'm like, if I had very limited funds, and so if I were to put whatever funds I have available into somebody's deal at say a 6% return with maybe a 2x multiple,
Right.
which is about the average at that point. Um, I would have been very upset if 2 or 3 months later something much better came along and I did not have the money to invest in it.
And
So
Don, if we could, I want to unpack something here that this really lately, like really screaming at me about asymmetric risk. I didn't really get this explicitly in undergrad. I did undergrad in econ and finance, but anyway, the concept is it's a computational finance concept of you're looking for asymmetric risk. So essentially, you want the upside relative to the risk to be far greater than the risk you're taking on. So it's basically taking on the amount of risk that is reasonable compared to the amount of investment, or why not? Well, just go put it in the dirt, or put it in Tesla or something else, right? Like you were discussing about. What was it about multifamily that felt like the risk was asymmetric to the wrong side to you at the time?
So it wasn't so much, I'd say, just the risk of the multifamily itself, because I still think it's relatively lower risk.
Hmm.
As many people point out that it's people need a place to live, so it's always going to
Right.
be in demand. I just saw it as more of the time frame involved. So
Mm.
if I'm invested in something for up to say 5 years, that's a lot of time where I don't have my money and I'm getting very little cash out of it, because most of these properties, or at least the syndications, are providing relatively low cash flow during
Hmm.
that point. Like maybe, like I said, maybe a 4 to 6% annual cash on cash, just from the cash flow alone. And I was like, well, that's not really a lot really to sustain during that time. And then having to wait 5 years to double my money. I'm like, well, again, with my background of educational background in finance and investing, it's like I was like, I could relatively find a pretty, we'll say, low risk stock investment. Also, I could probably double my money in less than that time. So I was like, is the risk involved worth it? So again, mostly looking at the opportunity cost here. I'm like, there's got to be something better,
Hmm.
and let alone just from my own deals I was finding out elsewhere. Maybe it's another development project, or another a random fourplex comes up that maybe would be great.
Right.
And so yeah, so I just was not willing to invest yet in anything. There's a few that I was getting close to, even one that I had kind of committed to, and luckily that deal actually fell through, so I didn't actually have to go through with it. But I was like, I just could not pull the trigger, knowing that there's probably something better. And
Mm.
so I was still at this point continuing to listen to podcasts like every day, and it just so happened I heard a podcast that someone talked about campgrounds, and
Really?
so that kind of stuck
Campgrounds.
out to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, that's something unique and new I've not heard about. Didn't know you
Yeah.
could invest in those. I know, of course, people own campgrounds, but I didn't know that it was something to invest in. So I realized that where I live in Idaho, we're about an hour and a half from Yellowstone Park, and so there's probably a high probability of there being some deals to buy around here, or people that would invest around here. So I started connecting in that space, going to different meetups and I guess webinars and people meeting, talking about campgrounds, just to learn more and get more connected with people in that space. So I initially had the thought that, again, I really did not have much presence online, or really
Mm.
great, strong contacts, we'll say. So I was mostly just offering to be a boots on the ground. If somebody wanted to buy something here in southeast Idaho, near or even northern Utah, something within a few hours drive of me, I could go be a boots on the ground, take videos, help out. My wife, again, is a realtor, so she could help with the purchase, and make it all smooth and easy. And so that was my initial plan. I wanted to just get my foot in the door, to maybe get a small 1% piece of one of these properties, just by helping them find something and being boots on the
Right.
ground. And so in then doing that, I just happened to come across a couple of guys. I don't know if it was a comment I made or comment they made, but somehow we got connected. I want to think it was either LinkedIn or maybe Bigger Pockets.
Mm.
Um, so these guys had just bought their first property, maybe about a year before this, and were wanting to expand and grow their team. And this was, Adam Lindy primarily that I made the first contact with. So Adam
Hmm.
Lindy and Justin Hoggett are the actual co-founders of Happy Camper Capital. A lot of people think that it was me. It's my company. I started. It's not. It's not the case. I'm just the one that's more out talking about it, and that's kind of my role, actually. Um, so yeah. So these guys had started and were wanting to grow their team, and they so we talked. They saw my enthusiasm and understood my want of trying to find something better. They told me about the returns they were getting as well, and I was like, this is just insane. So
Mm.
I was like, definitely had this already decided I was for sure going to invest in their deals. And so again, talking about my goals and where I was looking to go, because I was still also, even when I was doing those multifamily searches, I was trying to find partners as well. I wanted to be part of a team, be a general partner on a team that can syndicate deals. And so
And Don, can
um,
we unpack that for just a minute?
yeah.
Would you agree that commercial real estate is almost per se a team game?
Yes, definitely. The only possibility of it not being is if you are just hugely independently wealthy that you don't need anybody else, and you
Right.
can hire everything.
But you're
But
hiring.
for most people, yes, you definitely need a team, because it's a lot to do. You cannot do it alone, and obviously raising capital tends to be a big part of that.
Mhm.
Again, unless you have, like, Elon Musk money where you don't need to. But for most of us, yeah, you need more than just your realtor and a lender, and your property manager. You got a lot of things to do. Um, so yeah, so I was setting out, and honestly, when I was trying to find those partners and be part of a team, I had initially come in expecting to be the underwriter, right? Because my financial background and my, I'm great with numbers and analyzing. That's what I thought would be my strong point, and I think I still am good at that. But
Yeah.
I realized, kind of surprising to me, as I would be on calls with investors, being, I am a self-proclaimed introvert, right? I am not a conversation carrier. I typically am not good at starting
That's
conversations and
right.
talking to people. But as I started doing more and more of calls, just talking with people, talking about what we're doing with Happy Camper Capital, and even when I was sort of raising capital with that and other build to rent multifamily deal I was doing, I kind of realized that I actually like doing that.
Mm.
I this farthest thing from my mind would be talking to people, but I realized that I enjoy, going on podcasts and talking
Mm.
about what we're doing and doing these
Mm.
things, and very contrary to being an introvert, and
Well,
so I
it's
quickly
interesting.
realized that.
I have heard that in a way, an introvert that's introverted, but not too introverted, actually in ways make the best salespeople because when they there's more. It's not just fluff when you say it, Don. Guys like me that are prone to talk a lot. Sometimes talk too much, and it's like, this guy's just a salesman. He's just saying blah blah blah. An introvert, they don't just they just don't spew nonsense, which I really admire about introverts, and they make great salespeople for this reason, I think.
It's interesting. Yeah, that could be. I guess I've again never would have considered myself a salesman.
Right.
I tried to not sell anything. When I'm on investor calls with people, I'm
No.
not I'm not pushing and selling you. Say, hey, you need
Yeah.
to invest your money right now, and that's not what I do. That's not my style. It doesn't work for me. And so,
Also, well, and the fact of the matter is, it really never worked that well for me either. So I think what you're doing is along the way
yeah,
of, you're very passionate. It comes across. You really, and you believe in what you're doing, and that's the, I think the bigger picture is that you really value it. You see the value in it, and you're just communicating value. And it's like, if you're with me, fine. If not, hey, no worries. But I also think that energy also comes across too, that you're just very passionate about it, but you're not pushy in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's what people respond to. It's like you're just creating a great choice for people.
exactly. And I definitely agree with that. As far as the passion and what I'm doing is really I'm just trying to help educate people. Like
Right.
I'm showing you that, what I have found, what I think is amazing, I think you should at least know about, to have it as an option of if you're going to be investing your money. If you're, because I think the way I look at it is most people are probably more similar to me than I would think.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of people that are out there investing are not, ultra wealthy multimillionaires. They're average folks like myself that maybe have some money they want to invest and get to working to work towards becoming financially independent at some point down the road. And so I assume that, most people can relate to me in that aspect, that, they have limited capital. They want to get the best returns possible out of that money, and to reach those financial independent numbers a lot sooner than any other option. So
Yeah.
that's basically what I'm sharing people. I'm like, if I can help you reach financial independence with less money out of pocket and at a sooner time than investing in other opportunities, then why not at least consider that. And so that's basically all I'm really sharing with people.
And I want to also suggest that because you are an introvert, you are almost per se a much better listener than I am. I am mega extrovert, like to talk, but guess what? That means I don't listen very well. So I've had to work really hard on being a better listener. So for the folks out there considering hiring introverts for sales, consider them strongly because they are better listeners.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. So I guess going back to the story here. So,
Yeah.
so after I talked with met with Adam and Justin, and they invited me to join their team, to come on with Happy Camper Capital, and initially come on with them as investor relations, help essentially raise capital for our deals mostly. And so going back to my focus prior to that had been multifamily, right? I was still trying to get in these deals and find partners, and I had just joined a couple of mastermind groups that were all about multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
And so now here I am doing something that's not multifamily. I was like, am I going to get ridiculed and kicked out and made fun of, different things? And so
Yeah.
before I officially joined them, I took time to think about it, and I was like, I went and I actually talked to a few people. I went to these the same meetup events we go to, like say TGIF, right? And I would mention to people about I was considering getting involved with campground deals, and just to get some feedback from people, and I never once got a negative feedback. Everybody's like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh,
That
yeah,
people that
cool.
so a couple of people I'd spoke with had just rented an RV and went on a camping trip, during that summer, and said they enjoyed it. They see the huge income potential in these properties. I'm like, okay, thanks for the feedback. Good to know.
Mm,
I talked to some of my neighbors who I'd previously talked to about investing in multifamily deals. Several of them are actually attorneys or physical therapists, or people that are relatively high income earners, but none of them are investors. That outside of their IRA, they don't understand real estate. They're afraid of it. All they know is what they see on the news, and that's scary. Which I understand
yeah.
that. So I mentioned to them about possibly investing in campgrounds,
Mm,
because most of them do have RVs. They go camping, and so they were like, "Sounds interesting. I would like to learn more about that for sure." So I was okay. There's definitely an opportunity here for possibly a whole source of investors that are RV enthusiasts, outdoors people that maybe don't invest in real estate traditionally, but this is something they could invest in. Because the way I look at it is most people who own an RV or these big fifth wheels, these are not cheap toys, right? These are very, most like I said, luxury items. So if you can afford those types of toys, we'll say, you can probably have the funds to also invest in some type of real estate deal. So I was like, yeah, this could be a very huge group of these possible investors that we could reach through campgrounds. And so as I thought about it more, and I saw the things that were happening, and that, again, going back to that first podcast I listened to and things I was following, I saw the huge potential of what's to come in this RV space. And so I looked at it and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, even if I get kicked out of these mastermind groups, or people make fun of me, I don't care. I've never really let that lead my life anyway. I always try to do my own thing and go against the grain, and I follow what I think is the right thing to do. And so I saw it as like, yeah, this is a big opportunity. 3 years from now, am I going to look back and regret not taking that chance?
mm, mm,
Or if I skip it and stick with multifamily, what's that look like? And so comparing the two, I was like, I've got to at least give this a try. And again, what have I got to lose? Right. So I'm at least going to give it a try. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, at least I tried, and I won't think about it later. What if, so I give it a shot, and I give it, all I've got. I really got, dove all into it, and I started, just telling people about everything. Even before I knew much about it myself, I was still learning, but I would still tell people about it and talk to people uh, and learn. And so I came to love it even more than just for the returns. I saw it on a deeper level as far as like how it impacts people's lives, and the experiences we can create for the people there and for the investors. And um, and for me personally, again, going back to maybe some I don't know, moral aspects that I the one thing about multifamily which I never liked is, well, not just one thing, but you have to at times evict people.
yeah.
And generally speaking, for especially commercial real estate and multifamily, the main goal is you want to increase the income. By increasing the income, you have to increase the rents usually.
Mm,
And by increasing rents, you're now affecting people's lives. They have to make a decision if they want to stay there and pay more rent and cut their maybe food budget or something else,
yeah.
or go find a cheaper place to live. And so it's kind of, it's uh, I guess painful to have to put that burden onto people.
Hmm.
And so with campgrounds, we don't have to do those things. People aren't living here. These are vacation resorts. People are come here to have fun, right? And so even if we increase the cost, say $20 a night, they're maybe there for a weekend or a week. It's not really a big change to their lifestyle. It's not going to
Right.
affect their decision most likely to come there. If they have something else going in their life, they'll decide to not to take a vacation or,
Mm,
or do something else. But it's not that same level of causing you to have to change your life or find some place to move or whatever. And we don't feel like we're kicking people on the street. So I like that aspect a lot, as I've learned more about it. Just again going to my personal feelings and um, the way I see the world, I guess.
and Don, I'm fascinated with your choice here, and it seems like it's really been a great fit so far. What are your concerns about the recession on the horizon and or the recession we're in, depending on who you listen to?
Sure.
How do you feel that that's going to affect your sector?
Honestly, it'll probably make things better. As far as like that it will increase our income.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that, you think about this. going back to kind of what we said before about the people that own RVs and campers and whatnot, and even like so the lower end ones, for example, so not all campers and RVs are super high end. There are some cheaper ones, but um, I'd say during a recession, if people are well, for again, two sides of this, I guess. Again, the most people on the high end side have higher incomes to again afford these $100,000 fifth wheels or $250,000 RVs, Class A motorhome type things. So they're probably not as affected by a recession from their income. They're not going to lose their job. They're still spending money. That's not really going to affect them at all in anything. So they'll take these trips. For the other side of it, the people that maybe are more affected by costs and things, it's going to come down to a decision of if they still want to take a vacation, they still want to go out and have fun. You're maybe not going to go to Disney World.
Mm.
That's going to be an expensive trip.
Mm-hmm.
So they may cut back into it. The whole staycation thing. That was a big thing a few years ago. So the staycation is still a viable option for most people to get out and have fun, especially if you already own an RV or camper. You want to go use it. You don't want just sitting in your driveway. So you'll likely still get out and go use it and come to these properties and have fun. So that's kind of who we're catering to on both sides of that. And part of our criteria of the properties we purchase, they have to be within about a 2 or 3 hour drive of a major city. So
okay.
So again, so if gas prices keep going up, which they likely will, you may not take a cross country trip, but you'll still, again, if you want to go have fun, go drive a couple hours to go hang out at the lake, possibly go to a concert event or something. And these are things that we do on our properties. We have concerts. We typically have things with some kind of water feature, like a lake or a river or something. Go boating, fishing, whatever it may be. And so yeah, people are still going to spend money even during a recession. Yeah, even during a recession.
Yeah.
Right. People still want to have fun. They're still going to spend money on something for enjoyment. People are still. I'm surprised to see people spending $1,000 on a ticket to go to a football game. Right. So people want to have fun, and they'll still spend money for fun. And so depending on how where you're at, what level of income source or whatever it may be, we will still have people come to our campgrounds.
Completely can see that. It is recession resistant for that reason, in that it's a relatively cheaper alternative to the other vacations they might have been taking otherwise.
Exactly right.
Awesome. And Don, I'm fascinated. Have I missed any questions that you think I should have asked that I didn't?
Well, I know we mentioned quite a bit about I was looking for high returns. We haven't even talked about the returns for these campgrounds yet.
Right.
So I can kind of cover that briefly. We'll say a high level, general
high level
speaking.
Yes.
Right. So
we're giving an education right now on campground investing.
Exactly right, because each deal, of course, will be deal specific and have its own specific returns. But
Right.
in general, the properties that we target, and we provide both 506Bs and 506C investing opportunities. So as of right now, the only deals we do have are 506C with a new fund we just started.
Oh, nice.
But we have had 506Bs, and we will have more in the future. So, but no, not talking about any specific deal here, just general.
Right. Generally,
we target properties that are going to be generating, I'd say on average, between a 12 to maybe 18% cash on cash over a 5-year hold. And with that cash flow starting from day one. So there's no like, say, you're going to invest this and, wait a year before you get any cash flow. And then it's like a 4%. No, these are going to be generally cash flowing from day one, probably between an 8 to 12% from year one. And that's pretty much buying it as is. These are cash flowing properties from day one. So we then, of course, we do our value add to improve them, expand them, build on more camping spaces, build on better amenities that will attract people there. So over time, that cash flow is going to go up considerably. And then, of course, we'd also that includes the value add side of it. When we plan for a 5-year hold. So after that 5-year period, or maybe less, we will typically are providing a 2.5 to 3x multiple, including both the cash flow and the equity side of it. So that works out to usually around a 20% or more IRR over that 5-year hold. Of course, again, this is general. There could be some that are lower or higher than that, but that's about what we target when we look for properties that meet our criteria.
And I'm fascinated. So it sounds like the really stout cash flow from day one to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, even our year one, as is cash flow, even if we did nothing to the property, is still better cash flow than you're finding in anything else right now. So if nothing else, if you're looking for cash flow, this is definitely the types of properties to invest in. That was for me again, my number one goal when I was looking to invest was cash flow. I was
Yeah.
trying to get to that financial independence number. I wanted cash flow to overtake my W-2 income, and so cash flow for me has always been priority number one. The equity side is great on the end, but I don't want to wait 5 years. I want cash flow now so I can improve my current living circumstances right now, and then have the equity come later to make it even better when I can reinvest that into more deals to get more cash flow.
Okay, and for that reason, rate yourself on a from a let's say a bank CD to ground up development in upper Mongolia on a risk spectrum. Where would you say you guys fall in that?
Um, well, I guess it depends on how you consider risk. So CDs are technically, I'd say, are very low risk, but at the same point, kind of high risk because your money is
Right,
tied up
because it's
and you
just
can't get
getting
it.
eaten up by inflation, right?
Exactly, yeah. So
Right.
I would put it on par as I'd say with probably I'd say just any relatively similar real estate investment. So
Okay.
uh, you know, everything of course has its risk. Nothing is without risk, but um, I'd say pretty much anything real estate related is relatively low risk in my opinion because there still has a value. It will never go to zero. It can't go bankrupt like you can with some stocks that
Hmm.
you could lose everything. So there's always some value there. So I see real estate in general as relatively low risk anyway. So as compared to say multifamily or self storage or mobile home parks or anything else like that, it's pretty much on par with I'd say all those as far as the relatively normal average speak of risk.
Right.
Not opportunity cost risk. That's something else, but generally
Right.
speaking, risk level, yeah, it's pretty similar to anything else. I'd say as far as real estate goes. Um,
Definitely,
depending,
definitely low.
the,
Well, and even you got a prime example. The development deal that you have is slightly riskier in the sense that it was ground up and wasn't existing, and these are cash flowing day one. So this is even like on that curve, it's lower down than even a development deal that was pre-leased a little bit.
exactly, yeah, that's very true in that aspect. That yeah, the cash flow alone is going to cover the cost from day one. So there's no risk. And the great thing about this space too is we are not generally competing with other buyers. So
Right.
these are most of our deals we get off market direct from the seller. Um, so we're not overbidding to
Oh
just
my
get a
gosh,
deal.
this is like a flash of insight. It's like your basis is a source of risk. That might be our mic drop moment, even there, Don. I think we might leave it go at that. Don, thank you so much for joining me today. What is the best way to reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, of course. I'm very active there. I invite everybody listening to go to our website, happycampercapital.com. You can for sure register there to learn more about any of our current or upcoming deals. And also there, if you want to talk to me directly, go to our About Us tab. You'll find my name, and you can learn more about me right there. But also, that page will have a button where you can schedule a call with me, so we can get on a Zoom call and talk more about your investing criteria and what you're looking to do, and if we can help you.
That's outstanding, Don. And my final question for you, given that you're in the campground business, better campground movie, We're the Millers, or one of the vacation movies?
Um, you know what? I'd probably say because I've seen this most recently, is the movie called RV with Robin Williams.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I haven't seen that one yet. I'll have to check
yeah,
that one out.
it's not so much a campground movie really, but that'd be more so like Friday the 13th, but but it's definitely a fun RV movie that
Yeah.
if you've never driven an RV before, it's a kind of a funny take on what you can do with an RV.
Well, that's one Robin Williams movie I haven't seen yet. Thank you for the recommendation, sir. It's great to talk to you today, Don. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot.